Yeah. Now, when it comes to like church and maybe like small groups, sometimes it's really easy to put the fake fine on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even with people that like we know like we need to be open and honest with, it's still easy just to put the wall up and say nope, everything's good, or just put out like little feelers here and there and like kind of like skirt the issue. And we would like it's like when we do that, we think oh like I talked about it,
Yeah.
but in reality we haven't really talked about it like at all. We haven't shared exactly like what's going on like in our hearts. So like how can we as like faith communities like make it like authentic to where we are willing and wanting to be open and real and have like true and actually find true joy through talking through our issues and not just faking it like until we make it.
I think something, I'll go first, Sadie,
Yeah.
if you don't mind.
Thank you.
All right.
All right.
Ladies
One
first.
thing that I thought would be really, really good to talk about briefly would be like celebrate recovery in the way that in CR,
Yeah.
you do like a step study and you go in there and you're like, the first two steps or whatever, they're great. And I'm admitting I've got a problem and I admit that there's a God. And then step 3 is like, I'm going to let God come into my heart and do some stuff. And then like we get to steps 4 and 5 and it's like, oh my word, I'm going to do like this inventory of my life. And then I'm going to be like telling one other person and God everything that I've done. But the vulnerability and opening up and like really being super real with somebody creates so much freedom and peace
yeah.
and like this deep vulnerability that comes out of us. And even in a small group setting, sharing all of that with the people in that group, the first to go, like you said, sometimes we have to be the first to go. Being the first to be vulnerable and showing like the things that are taking place or things that we've even done in our life, it actually encourages others to do the same. And so I think it creates an environment of the ability to be able to share. And with Celebrate Recovery here at the church, I think that's taking place, man. We've got some step studies taking place right now.
Yeah.
There's one that I think there's like 8 people in it. I was like, oh my word, Scott's leading it, and Scott Jensen. I was like, man, that's got to be a ton of conversations. And he's like, actually, some nights we have to like cut the study in half and then like jump back into it next week. It's that much healthy discussion, but that only comes from vulnerability,
Right.
Yeah.
being real and being authentic with people.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. I don't know that I have anything to add.
Yeah, you kind of like hit the whole thing there, but I think also too is like in like a faith community, realizing that like we don't like I want to make sure that I say this correctly. I think we all have like our sins that like we try to keep hidden because we don't want people to know about it.
Yeah.
And what's crazy is that God already knows about those things.
Yeah.
That can either scare you or make you comfort. I don't know which one it does for you. It brings me comfort knowing that God like knows like all my junk and like still loves me. And so maybe like taking that truth like into like a group of like 2 maybe 3 other people who like and trust who love Jesus and say, hey, like Jesus already loves me. He's here for me. He's already died for me. I want to confess my sin and almost like get rid of the stigma that comes from confession.
Sorry.
Our cameraman is being a little handsy right now behind. If you want to guess who it is, look at the group shot and see who's not in the picture. So,
Oh my word.
all right, I have to go back to where we were here. Okay,
God knows our sin.
God knows our sin, and so what I want to say is we shouldn't be afraid of our sin.
Yeah.
We shouldn't be afraid to confess our sin.
Yeah.
And honestly, Matt, go back to something you said is like I think when we confess our sin, there's freedom and there's so much joy in that freedom.
Yep.
And because it's not held over us anymore, Satan can't hold it over us anymore. Like people can't hold it over us anymore, which people like love to do. Like, oh hey, like I remember you and you did this. I'm like, yeah, you're right, I did do that. But you know what? Like I've been forgiven of that. And it doesn't have anything over me out anymore. So being able to find again like 2 or 3 people and be honest and real and confess your sin, I think it'd be super huge and bring about some like pure joy
Yeah.
in people's lives. Yeah.
I also think there's just it's related in my brain. It might not be related in my life, but in my brain, I'm thinking to an instance I had with one of my sisters a while back, and I had not been particularly paying attention to the conversation. I was in my own little world, and I like popped into the conversation, said like a sentence and then popped out of the conversation because, again, my brain was not there. And I deeply hurt my sister. And she had the opportunity to choose to either be real with me or to be toxically positive and just like pretend it's fine, pretend that like within the family dynamics, pretend that like
This is all
what I
good.
said hadn't hurt her. And she chose to be brave and come to me. And I know I'm not always the most approachable person. I can, I don't know. Enneagram 8. And so she came to me and she was honest and we both cried. I bawled my eyes out because I had clearly, while not paying attention to the conversation, what I said got taken one way, which is definitely not how I meant it. But if I had been paying attention to the conversation, I might have understood that what I said was problematic.
Yeah.
So there are multiple factors at play, but like
Been
I think
there.
in faith communities, to avoid toxic positivity, we also need to be willing to acknowledge when someone has hurt us, and go to that person and be like, hey, like, I don't know if you meant this way, but like this really hurt my feelings. And I think it is how we interpret that is up to us, but I think it should be considered an honor when someone tells us that we've hurt them,
Yeah.
because that means that they have trusted us enough to have that conversation so that there can be an opportunity for healing. But if we never admit that someone from the church hurt us, then we're never going to get to a place where we can be honest with them. And like any sense of joy we choose will be more of toxic positivity around that person than it will be actual joy,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
So,
Yeah. Unresolved conflict.
yeah.
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 Creates all kinds of problems, but
Yeah. So,
resolving it is the way to go.
It
like
is.
it's not comfortable, and it's
no.
Yeah.
I think it's harder for some people to be able to confront. But I think, man, to do it in a loving way, the Bible actually has something to say about that as well, right? It's like, so like just to be able to go to a brother or a sister, it says, and just like, hey, like this hurt me or whatever. It's super healthy, and hopefully it's received in that same spirit. So that's good. It's really good.
It's really good.